Hey everybody, Turin Stevenson here for Karma Classrooms. In this episode, we're going to be talking about reminders and cues, why they're important, why they're going to help you, especially with the boys in your class. Come on, let's get into it. Okay, in this episode we're going to be talking about reminders and cues. I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you've got a student who's working and you've asked students to pack up and go on to the next activity, and they continue to work. You know, this happens with boys a lot. They get very task oriented or very task focused, and so sometimes they don't want to stop when you've asked them to stop. Well, the reason for that is that a great many students feel like stopping midway or mid-sentence or mid-project, it really causes them a great deal of stress, and so they feel this need to really finish it off and make sure they get everything out that they were working on. And one of the ways that you can avoid this is by giving them wind-up time or giving them time to prepare for the end. If you just come and say, hey, that's it, they're going to need a few more minutes to just adjust to the new paradigm. But if you say, in 5 minutes we're going to be wrapping it up, in 3 minutes we're going to be wrapping it up, okay, last minute, finish what you're doing, okay, this is time, put your pencils down. What's going to happen is by giving them that wrap up time, they're already preparing their mind for it. And so this is like a cue for the end of a particular segment. This can really help with boys to help them finish one task and start on a new task. You can also give reminders or cues as in visual reminders of instructions that you've given. If you've given multiple instructions to students in your class, it's really good to write them up on the board or give them a piece of paper with the same instruction, because a lot of students will miss multiple instructions. They might hear the first one but then tune out or just not. They'll be thinking about the first one and they didn't catch the second and third one. And so if you give them a visual reminder, just say, if you forget, look on the board, look on the sheet of paper, and then that will help them to continue working without any difficulty. Timers are another way of helping to remind or cue. If you want students to work within a particular time frame, by putting a timer up on the board or putting it up on the PowerPoint will be a really powerful way of keeping them on task. This is especially true for students that maybe work slowly, or students that maybe have a tendency to waste time. When they know that there's a timer, what the timer does is it becomes the authority in the room. You don't have to chase them, they're watching the timer. And if they're competitive, the timer can be really helpful to hurry them along and help them to get their work done in a timely fashion. Some other cues and reminders that you can use are hand expressions or hand cues, so have some hand signals that relate to different things in the classroom. So if you want them to raise their hand when they speak, and let's say they call out, just have instead of saying it, just look at them and raise your hand so that it jogs their memory, and then they know, okay, I've got to put my hand up. Or just have some hand signals, like if you see them across the room and they're watching you and maybe they're starting to misbehave, just do this hand signal, I see you, enough now. Those give them a jog or a reminder that their behavior is inappropriate. Some other cues that can be helpful is giving them a plan up front. So starting the day with what's happening. Okay, today we're going to be doing this in first session, we're going to be doing this in second session, we're going to be doing this in third session. When children have an idea of what's coming up, they in their own head they can plan out how their day is going to go. And sometimes you can put that timetable up on the wall in a visual sense, so you just have 10 o'clock, this is the activity, we're doing English. 11 o'clock, we're doing maths. Then lunch is at 12:30. Then we've got science after lunch. And so just have a visual cue that they can reference at all times, especially for autistic children. Sometimes they can get a bit stressed about knowing what's coming next. And so if you've got that visual cue on the wall, that just helps them to regulate themselves and to keep themselves under control. What are some cues that you use, or what are some reminders that you use in your classroom? I'd love to hear from you. Why don't you put it in the comments and tell me how you use cues and reminders to keep your students on task and to help them stay focused and to help them stay working. If you've enjoyed today, just give us a thumbs up or maybe give us a share. We'd love to share this with other people who would benefit. And if you're listening on our podcast, please consider giving us a review on iTunes or Stitcher, and we'd love to hear from you. Looking forward to talking to you next week. I'm Tarun Stevenson for Karma Classrooms.